inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Dan Santella. 2023 was a year of big stories for us here at KELOLAND News, from massive winter storms to controversy, the Mitchell Legion baseball team to the Delbridge Museum of Natural History being shut down. 2023 had a lot. On today's Inside KELOLAND, we're going through some of the biggest and most viewed on our website. The stories are not in order throughout the year, nor are they in order of any importance. From the interstates to highways and city streets, a massive winter storm back in January left a huge mess. As KELOLAND's Tom Hansen shows us, one morning the snow was coming down so heavy and fast it overwhelmed plows trying to keep major streets cleared of snow.
The battle for the streets of Sioux Falls began this morning after the heavy snow started falling, and early on, it looked like Mother Nature was the winner. Plows couldn't keep up, and even emergency snow routes became clogged with snow and stuck cars, like this section of East 10th Street near Cliff Avenue. Street Operations Manager Dustin Hansen says the outskirts of town have been the worst. Portions of Marion Road and Arrowhead Parkway have been almost impassable at times. The amount of snow falling is the biggest challenge.
Emergency routes, we had them all cleared at 4 a.m., but then we started getting this heavy snow after that. So it's just a constant, around the clock going on these emergency routes. But the residentials are going to be tough to get out of.
All day, the street department's command center has been coordinating efforts to keep the streets clear.
5 called or texted me and said they can't get out.
Even plow drivers haven't been able to get out of their neighborhoods, so plows are going to get them. Low visibility and iced up windshields are creating problems for both the plow drivers and people trying to get to and from work. Logan Rum of Eastgate Towing has been busy rescuing driver after driver.
Just stay home if you can. Parking lots, people get stuck in parking lots everywhere. So just if you can avoid it, stay home. Don't come out.
When we caught up with him, Rum was towing a car belonging to Pasuth Pinteloff and his wife. She got stuck and he came to oversee the tow.
This is probably the worst one I've seen. And I've been here 26 years.
Pasuth says he was surprised more businesses haven't called off work. We saw people using four-wheel drives to help other cars stuck in the snow. And even all-wheel drive cars and crossovers have been having a hard time because they don't have enough clearance for this storm.
So again, if you don't have to travel or go to work today, please stay home.
Tom Hansen, KELOLAND News.
Dustin Hansen told us crews were working around the clock to get major streets and emergency snow routes cleaned up. That massive winter storm also meant significant problems for any kind of travel on many roads. I spoke with the South Dakota Department of Transportation to get updates on the road conditions across the state. This is a look at Interstate 29 in western Sioux Falls today. Just one community hit hard by the latest round of intense winter weather in South Dakota.
I know the calls I've been on this morning, we've had multiple snowplow trucks get stuck themselves out there.
Shortly before noon, we caught up with Craig Smith with the South Dakota Department of Transportation, as well as Travis Dressen, Mitchell Region Engineer with the DOT. Is it accurate to say that there are a lot of highways and roads impassable in southeastern South Dakota?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, Dan. A lot of those routes that I talked about earlier, the Gregory, Burke, the Bone Steel areas who saw the greater amount of snowfall down there, those roads are definitely impassable right now. It's difficult to even get the trucks out of the shop to get out on the roadways and be able to punch through.
When snow falls and winds howl like they have today, there's only so much crews can do.
The morning hours brought some, in that 2-inch plus per hour additional accumulations, made it very difficult for our trucks to keep up. And in many shops, just due to the visibility and the ongoing snow, they actually had to pull those trucks.
Nevertheless, Smith says the work presses on and the roads will be cleared. In Sioux Falls, Dan Santella, KELOLAND News. A big controversy with the Mitchell post-18 Legion baseball team. When we come back, we'll look at the rape case 6 players are facing and where it's at in the court system. Welcome back. On this Inside KELOLAND, we're going over some of the biggest stories from the past year. In July, KELOLAND News learned that 6 Mitchell Legion baseball players were facing rape charges. 3 juveniles are also accused in the case. The American Legion responded saying, quote, "The allegations are very disturbing and are not in keeping with the traditions and the core purposes of American Legion baseball." According to court papers, the incidents that brought on the charges involved 2 juveniles and happened in Rapid City while the team was playing in a tournament there in June. Our Tom Hansen went to Mitchell to speak with the prosecutor in the case.
The Pennington County State's attorney who is prosecuting the case tells KELOLAND News that this was not a hazing or some sort of initiation. She characterizes the charges as forcible sexual assault.
I also think it's very important for people to understand that I do not think that this was an isolated incident within the Mitchell Legion baseball team. I do believe that this was a culture of repeated behavior that had been going on for possibly years.
Today in Mitchell, I talked with several people who told me they just don't know enough to comment on camera. The people who do follow the program are in shock, and they're just trying to process what's happened.
We really want to make sure that if these things happened and they're proven to be true, which is absolutely my burden, that the right consequences come out of this. And so I'm really hoping that this is a moment in time where the truth can come out across the Mitchell community. Other victims can come forward. You know, there's a real possibility that named defendants have been victims of this past conduct. And the time is now for it to end, quite frankly.
Retzel says it's possible that some adults close to the baseball program knew of the alleged crimes. Now, if that is true, they could also face charges in Davison County. Retzel says she's reached out to the Davison County State's attorney to offer to take over the case to avoid any conflict of interest. Pennington County investigators and attorneys would then take the lead on the investigation.
They would travel to Mitchell and handle those cases there. I think there's a real possibility that that will happen. If it does happen, I want it to happen very soon. I think it's really important for everyone that this just gets out in the open. Everything that's going to be charged so that all the rumor and innuendo can stop. You know, the Mitchell community and the state can know and understand what this is all about. And, you know, we can start moving forward.
I talked with Davison County State's Attorney Jim Miskimmons. He says he is waiting for more information from Pennington County before he makes a determination. We also reached out to the Attorney General's office. Now, DCI agents did help in the investigation, but Attorney General Marty Jackley tells us that it is now up to Pennington County to handle the prosecution. In Mitchell, Tom Hansen, KELOLAND News.
The Mitchell Baseball Association put out this statement after the charges came out. Jason Christensen, the president of the association, said in part, quote, "It is hoped that the alleged actions by a few does not reflect negatively on the entire Mitchell baseball program. The board will trust the legal process and will have no further comment on the legal proceedings." The case against the players is still making its way through the court system. Also in July, the Sioux Falls Police Department was investigating a homicide, and we want to warn you the details are graphic. Inside an apartment on North Cliff Avenue, court documents say they found a man dead inside a bag who had been there for quite some time.
It was supposed to be a well-being check on a man who hadn't been heard from in a few days. That man was 63-year-old Nagasi Bolte. According to court papers, when investigators arrived at this apartment building, they could smell a strong odor of decomposition. Inside, they found a black bag with part of Bolte's body stuffed inside. The corpse had maggots and flies surrounding it, indicating the body had been there for more than a few days. The affidavit goes on to say a search of the apartment turned up a number of items with suspected blood on them, including a broken fan, a knife with an antler handle, and multiple cords. Investigators noticed a bloody shoe print on the floor, which did not appear to match the tread pattern of any other shoes in the apartment. During the investigation, a witness mentioned seeing a man by the name of Morningstar Jewett who had been hanging out at the apartment in recent days. Jewett had been arrested just a day earlier and was still in jail. When police went to interview him, he had first denied being at the apartment, but later changed his story and said, quote, "You got me." According to court papers, Jewett also told investigators Bolte was fighting with his girl, so he started assaulting him. He went on to say he grabbed a piece of wood and smacked him in the back of the head. He hit the ground, and then he assaulted him again. Jewett estimated the fight inside the apartment happened 6 days before his interview with police.
People in the Whittier neighborhood in Sioux Falls said they're saddened but not surprised by that gruesome homicide. KELOLAND's Perry Groten spoke with people who live near the crime scene. Some of them are afraid for their safety.
A homicide just down the block is too close to home for Whittier residents like John Spoonamore.
They need to get rid of that place over there. Nothing but trouble, you know.
Neighbors say police are a constant presence at the apartment building.
About every other day, it seems like.
Spoonamore says he avoids walking past it.
It's just kind of spooky, especially, you know, in the evening or dark time. I don't even like to go by there.
Spoonamore says he caught glimpses of the victim but never got to know him well.
I just seen him there, you know, and he was kind of quiet, so.
Neighbors struggle to find explanations for such a grisly killing where the victim is stuffed into a garment bag.
There's violence and things of this nature. There's alcohol, there's drugs, there's substance abuse, there's maybe even certain love lines have been crossed and people got their feelings hurt. Everybody. It hurts the neighborhood. It hurts.
People here say the homicide is a wake-up call for everyone in their neighborhood to keep an eye on one another.
We see how the neighborhoods are, and we're praying for this country. We are praying for this city too, and I think everyone here needs more love and help each other.
A neighborhood pulling together in the aftermath of a violent tragedy. In Sioux Falls, Perry Groten, KELOLAND News.
Still to come on this Inside KELOLAND, a community favorite museum suddenly closed down, while the Delbridge Museum rose to public spotlight when we come back. The sudden closing of the Delbridge Museum of Natural History at the Great Plains Zoo shocked many in the Sioux Falls community. Back in August, the zoo released a statement saying as the displays age, there's more potential for chemical exposure to arsenic that was used in the preservation of the animals. Out of an abundance of caution, they decommissioned the collection. A local advocacy group is working to save the historic Brockhouse collection, which was on display for 40 years. KELOLAND's Renee Ortiz talked with the organizer of the group and a city council member about what comes next for the collection.
Jason Hack is a fan of taxidermy. When he was young, he and his family would often visit the Delbridge Natural Museum.
We would go to the museum and just see the animals and just admire and get intrigued. A lot of that stuck with me from being a child, and it actually pretty much kind of led into what I'm doing now.
When he learned the display was closed, he decided to create an advocacy group to fight to keep the collection.
We're not in this for anything. We're not looking to gain anything out of this. There's no personal gains, no monetary. We don't want any of the items. That collection needs to stay together as a whole.
The group plans to advocate to keep the collection at upcoming city council meetings. Councilmember Pat Starr says this is the right move and input is needed from the community of Sioux Falls.
We need to hear from the public and how important it is to preserve this collection, and hopefully we haven't let it go too long that we can't do it. We need to know what it would take to restore the collection. What would it take to put it back in shape?
Starr says nothing is set in stone and there are still discussions to be had.
This one is going to be a significant community discussion that needs to happen as part of this. And just something simple of allowing it to be called surplus property and taken to the dump, I won't stand for.
Renee Ortiz, KELOLAND News.
Now, a few weeks ahead of the start of the legislative session, the city of Sioux Falls is seeking a change in state law to allow the animals from the Delbridge Museum collection to be transferred to another state. There's no plan to move the animals from the museum that closed in August because of arsenic. The city is exploring options for the animals. A task force recommended hiring a conservation firm to evaluate the items. Our digital reporter Ray Yost has the story about what this legislative priority could mean for the city in a KELOLAND.com original that you can find on our website. 2023 saw winter storms, various big crime stories, and many others. The year also saw 5 different house explosions in different areas of the state. According to investigators across the state, they've had a variety of causes. KELOLAND's Kelly Volk gives us a look back.
In February, flames shot 15 to 20 feet into the air, forcing a Rapid City neighborhood to evacuate. A speeding car had crashed into a home, causing a gas leak and explosion. The driver died and 3 families lost their homes. Just days later, an explosion blew the roof off a home in Madison. Family members were inside when it happened.
We're really lucky that it wasn't a lot worse. It could have been way worse.
In March, an explosion at a Lake Madison home was caught on surveillance camera. You can see flying debris near the top of your screen. Fortunately, no one was home. Investigators determined both of the Madison home explosions were caused by excessive snow covering the gas meters, which caused gas to leak into the homes. In May, a massive explosion flattened a home southeast of Fort Pierre, killing a baby girl and her grandparents. Investigators say liquefied petroleum gas made its way into the basement of the home. They aren't sure what sparked the explosion, but they are confident it was not suspicious. Kelly Volk, KELOLAND News.
The 2023 legislative session was rife with controversy and bills that directly impacted people's lives. A closer look at one that banned gender-affirming care for minors when we come back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about some of the biggest stories from 2023. One of the most controversial bills in the 2023 legislative session in South Dakota was signed by Governor Kristi Noem, and that had many people wondering what's next. HB 1080 bans certain kinds of health care for transgender kids, including puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and certain surgeries. Noem referred to it as the Help Not Harm bill. She says the legislature is protecting kids from harmful and permanent medical procedures. A majority of South Dakota lawmakers agree.
Most of them don't have the reasoning capacity to know what's best for them in that situation. And that's what we have here with some of our kids, and they need our help, they need our protection. And it's our job to take care of these children, the children that can't take care of themselves. That's our job.
However, opponents say the bill is unconstitutional, hurtful, and could lead to a lawsuit. I looked ahead to what the future could hold now that HB 1080 is law.
I am transgender, and I'm proud.
Before HB 1080, 16-year-old Elliot Moorhead had plans to look at options for transgender health care.
So then I'm like, yay, I can finally schedule an appointment. And then I can start testing and seeing what the options are and what's safe and what isn't. And continue go to therapy and talk to my new physician and see if there's a possibility for any kind of hormones.
If the bill becomes law, that can no longer happen in South Dakota.
Now with HB 1080 signed, I was so close to getting that appointment. I was looking at the options, and with this bill signed, that opportunity is now gone.
Elizabeth Brockmeyer of Sioux Falls has a 13-year-old transgender son named Asher who started to receive puberty blockers at the age of 12. She describes the signing of HB 1080 as, quote, a kick in the face.
I mean, he doesn't think that he belongs in South Dakota. He does not think that
people want him here. So right now it's a lot of hurt and a lot of anger.
It has her upset too.
When you see your child hurting, you're going to do whatever you can to try to help them through that. And I do know, that people do want him here. We fortunately have a really great support system of friends, some relatives.
Samantha Chapman, advocacy manager for the American Civil Liberties Union of South Dakota, says the organization is looking at every option.
There was a similar case litigated in Arkansas, which is in the same federal court circuit as we are, which is in the 8th Circuit, to see if we'll get a ruling on that prior to July 1st to potentially prevent this from going to effect in South Dakota and within our circuit.
As far as best paths forward, Moorhead hopes for empathy.
I just want people to know that transgender kids are valid and they're real. And you just have to look and be welcoming and open to the idea of someone being different than you, having a totally different experience.
In Sioux Falls, Dan Centella, KELOLAND News. And going to our final big story of 2023, we've been following the story of a 12-year-old Brandon boy who was in hospice care with cancer and told by doctors there's nothing more they can do. The family is praying for a miracle. We were asked to follow the journey of Spencer Thorsland as he continues his battle against the disease and the one word he wants everyone to understand.
He's only 12 years old.
My cancer started back in August of 2020.
But Spencer Thorsland has already endured a lifetime of pain. He's been fighting cancer for 3 years.
I knew what cancer was, but I didn't know the journey that was ahead of me.
That journey has been filled with relapses and uncertainty. Doctors recently told him his cancer is back for a 3rd time.
And then immediately I was kind of like, okay, I think it's time for me to rest. And then the next day, I think the doctors came in and then they told me that there was nothing they could do.
Despite the grim prognosis, Spencer says he had no choice but to accept it, and he's ready to be done with the fight.
And then I'm kind of like, okay, yeah.
From numerous treatments at Sanford Health and the Mayo Clinic, Spencer's stepdad, who he calls his bonus dad, says Spencer has been through so much.
It's nothing that anybody should ever experience, let alone kids. And over 3 years of this journey, it's been extremely difficult on the whole family and everybody, and watching him to go through it the way he did, the way he affected people, and the way he handled everything, it's just amazing.
I think he's just shown us, like he said, you need to take every day and make the most of every single day, and he's done that.
Spencer uses the word eventually a lot.
Eventually, I'll feel good. The word eventually is what keeps me going.
He even talks about heaven, and when he gets there, eventually, what it'll be like.
Like Earth, but the grass is green, the trees are all green, and daylight forever. In a way, it's almost peaceful thinking about death.
Spencer says he'll eventually get to see his older sister, who he never got a chance to meet because she died at birth.
She's going to take care of me.
I hope so.
She's my older sister.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
We can sit in Catland together. I bet she loves cats as much as me.
At times, it is hard to talk about. His mom takes a moment to give him a hug. Lori says Spencer is stronger than most and told her not to worry.
And you've taught me that, bud. You've taught me that. Breathe and take it in one day at a time. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're my mama. All I can do is try and keep you happy.
Well, it's not your job to keep me happy, but you still do a good job of it anyway.
Well, I'm your kid. Kids are supposed to make you happy, aren't they?
He has also taught her and others that whether there's a miracle or not, this fight will be over one way or another eventually.
We did several stories throughout November and December with Spencer. His journey is on our website. That's all the time we have for this year in review of 2023. If you'd like to learn more about the stories we covered today, just go to this story on our website. Be sure to join us again next year for more What's Going On Inside KELOLAND.